Shalom, ladies. Once again, welcome to Coffee and Connection week 53. We have been having some technical difficulties, but I'm really excited to be here with all of you. And I'm really getting excited for the Absolutely Intimate program that is coming up, the masterclass we're going to have next week. It's going to be a week-long event. I have working out all the specific details. I'm going to send you an email, Emir Hashem, tomorrow with all the details. And I really am excited to get, like, I'm really as I'm planning it, I'm really looking to give everything that I can give in those few days to really help you really figure out how to create the relationship that you want to have without feeling like you have to change yourself or you have to change him, right? That's what we're going to be talking about because I see, based on all your questions coming in, and I thank everyone who filled out the survey and sent me your questions. It was incredible. And I really see how over and over again, the issue that comes up for women is like, but we're so different. My husband is different in this way. I'm different in that way. How do we deal with these differences? How can I get my husband to change? Or how do I change myself? Or how do we live with these differences? And what I really want to show you is that you don't need to change. And he doesn't, well, you can't make him change, right? But what you can 100% have the relationship that you want to have once you have the tools and the skills that can allow you to communicate and allow you to connect and allow you to work together with the differences. And I know that even before we can like walk in to such an opportunity to learn these ideas, there's going to be that question because I hear that question over and over again of like, is it actually possible for things to be different? They've been this way for so long, or I see this about myself, or I see this in my husband so clearly. I know him, right? I love when women tell me, I know my husband, even if they've been married to him for like a week, right? I know him. I know what he's like. And I'm like, lady, all of us have to always remember that no matter how long we've been married to our husbands, we can't read their minds and we don't know everything about them, especially because so much of what we know about them is based on our assumptions and the evidence that we're gathering based on what we already believe. That's a whole different topic. But that idea of like, I know things are not going to change. I know that this is how we are can really get in the way of even being able to be open to such concepts, right? Like it worked for me. We're so stuck in where we are. And the truth is that we really can, you're right, we really can get stuck in what we know. We get stuck in what we're used to. We get stuck in our patterns. We get stuck in our habits, right? We've talked about changing your habits and how to create new habits, right? We talked about that last week. And it is important to understand that a lot of the times even when we learn something new, that those old patterns are going to pop up. They're going to show up. They're going to be there. And that it can be so frustrating because you're like, what do you mean? I worked on this. What do you mean? Like I I told you not to do that. You said yes, and now you're doing it again. By the way, just side point, anyone who's been with me since the beginning, I'm so happy to bring to Coffee and Connection, not just my coffee, but a cup from my grandmother's house. Remember I talked about my booby on the very first Coffee and Connection, who I used to sit and have coffee with? So unfortunately, we have to clean out her house, and I took some mugs that I remember sitting and have coffee with. So I'm sitting and connecting with all of you over the coffee in the same mug that I used to connect to my grandmother with. So thank you all for being here with me. And Leora's got her coffee or tea or something. So how do we relate to this? Does it mean that we're stuck? If we're in a pattern, are we stuck in that pattern? And the answer is definitely not, right? We're not stuck in it because our past does not have to determine our future, right? We don't have to let our past and let all the things that we've done until now be the decider of our future. At the same time, we do have to respect the past. We have to respect the fact that we're in this pattern. And I have to say, I think that this week's Parsha so beautifully illustrates this idea, right? Because here you have in this parsha, which is like one of my favorite parshas. Bo and Bashalach are like my favorite parshas. Outside of Sefer Vayikra, which is just my favorite Sefer, but separate from that. So you have Parsha Bashalach, which and what you see in this parsha is Hashem really teaching the Jewish people step by step how to change their mindsets, right? And he doesn't seem upset about it, right? Like the same things that happen in Sefer Shemot in Parshat Bashalach are going to happen in Bamidbar, right? Where the people are going to complain about the food. They have no food. They have no water. And there, God and Moshe is going to be like upset with them. Like, why are you complaining? But in Parshat Bashalach, there's no complaint. It's almost even like on purpose that God does it. Like God knew they were going to be thirsty. Why didn't he give them water from the beginning? God knew they were going to be hungry. Why wasn't the man falling from Shemayim, from the heavens, as soon as they left Mitzrayim? It was like Hashem needed that. Like part of the he didn't need it. The part of the process is them asking, them complaining. Because what's happening here is that even though they saw the plagues, even though they participated in that event of Korban Pesach where they said, "We are with you, God," even though they got to leave Egypt and it was like plain as day how miraculous the whole event was. They'd been slaves for a really long time, probably their whole lives. They'd been in Egypt for hundreds of years. We're talking about generations are leaving who have never known life outside of slavery, Pharaoh worship, like living in Egypt. What do they know about serving God? What do they know about looking to God? What do they know about relying on him? They've had the Nile like flood all the time. Like they don't know anything about feeling vulnerable to Hashem, of needing Hashem to take care of them. They can't relate to that. So even though they practically know that there's a God and they know that he's taking care of them because, hey, he just like took them out of, like there was just all those plagues. And even though they know that the Egyptians have been their captives and their captors and their overseers and their beaters and like everything for all these years, they still need different kinds of events to really help them reshape their mindset, right? And it seems that it's all done very purposely, very mindfully, right? That God like had the Egyptians think that we were coming back, but then we're not coming. We like turn and then we turn back and we're standing very vulnerable. Like he wanted the Egyptians to chase after us. He needed us to see not only the miracle of the sea splitting, but he needed us to see all the Egyptians dead on the shore. Like it says that very specifically. We needed that event to help us reshape our minds and stop thinking of the Egyptians, like stop relying on them, stop thinking about them, stop still kind of seeing them as our life, right? They were so used to it. Like the Egyptians were their source of, their source of food, their source of whatever they got, whatever sustenance they were getting. So we needed that. We needed this event to help us change our mindset. And then we go into the desert and God shows us like we needed to ask for food. Of course, God knows we need to eat. He wanted us to ask. And that's actually today, like tomorrow, right? Tuesday, which already tonight, we say the Parshat Haman, right? What's the whole concept of the man, right? We say it to as a school for sustenance today. If you think about it, the man is it's such a cool lesson in how we actually make change, how we actually create a different reality, not just in our lives, but through our mindsets, right? Because what's the man? The man, Like Hashem could have sustained them any way he wanted. He could have made them not need to eat, right? Our clothes didn't wear out. We could have just never been hungry. He could have given us like magic pills that you took every day. And here's 40 years worth, or here's a year. And then, oh, we're here longer. Here's 38 more years worth. Like he could have given us anything. He could have had like chickens just like walking around that we could eat. He could have done anything. And what did he choose? He chose our food to fall from the sky that we need to on a daily basis, and it had to be daily, right? It didn't last more than a day, except for Shabbos, which also taught us about Shabbos. On a daily basis, we had to go out and gather our food that fell from the sky. This is like so cool, right? God gave us a very cool lesson on a daily basis. We had to know through our actions because we had to go out and do it, right? It's very kinesthetic, right? We have kinesthetic learners, right? We have to go out every day, and gather this food that's falling from the heavens, right? What does that tell us about how we change our mindset? It's not just, yes, sometimes there's an event, right? Sometimes there's an event that teaches us something. Sometimes there's something big that inspires us, that gives us an aha, that gives us a breakthrough. We learn something. We come to a master class. We come to a coffee and connection. We have a call with a coach. Whatever it is, something makes us go, oh my gosh. But that's not enough, right? We then need to day by day by day work on that. Take action on a daily basis so that it can really become a change, a shift in our thoughts, in our feelings, in our words, in our actions, and in our results, right? It's not enough to just believe it. It's not just enough to be inspired. We need that daily action to make that shift so that it can really make that difference for us, right? And that means it is possible. We need to do it over and over again. You know why? Because the old way of thinking or the old way of doing something, we've done it so many times, right? It's like when you have a new truth, when you stop telling yourself, I don't know. We were talking last week about January 1st. If you stop telling yourself, like, I'm so fat, and instead you start telling yourself, I'm so beautiful, and maybe I want to be healthier, but I'm not disgusting. Like, why would I believe that, right? Or if you start, I want to talk respectfully, right? I want to be respectful. I want to take care of myself. I want to be the calmness that I want to experience in my home. Well, you've been thinking or believing or doing, if you've been doing the opposite for so many years, if you've been telling yourself you're disgusting, if you've been treating yourself like you're a schmata, if you've been looking at your husband with disdain and telling yourself that he's such an idiot or whatever for years, and probably you had those thoughts even before you married, like you look down on people or you look down on yourself, it's going to take time to create new pathways. It's going to create time to create new habits. And the best way, God's telling us through the man, the best way to do that is to take action day after day after day so that you can start to really recognize and make that change, not just as a thought, like as a nice idea, but like in your kishkas, in the way that you think, in the way that you act. And that's why we have this sula, right? We have to remember the man. There's even, right, Zeichar man, we're supposed to remember it every day. It's one of those things to remember because we have to remind ourselves over and over and over that everything comes from Hashem, right? It's so easy to get stuck in thinking the other way, and we're so used to it. We have to remind ourselves over and over again. So the idea here is to realize that it is when you're feeling stuck, it's not that you're stuck. It's not that nothing will ever work, right? Hashem is showing us it's not that it will never work. It's that it can work. It can change. You can create new ways of thinking and new ways of being, right? You can shift the reality of what's happening in your life, of what's being created, but it takes time, it takes practice, it takes energy, it takes support, it takes a process. And the process doesn't mean that we failed, right? We often think of like, why is it taking me so long? Or why am I coming back to this? Or why do I have to work on this? Or why don't I just get it already? But the fact that it's a process doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It's normal. It's the way our brains work. It's the way we as people, we're creatures of habit. Hashem made it that way on purpose. There's something we gain out of that. And the fact that we're in the process is a victory. Like you're here, you're showing up, you're doing the work, you're learning, you're practicing, you're moving, you're growing. And it's so important to celebrate every step of that journey. Every day that they would go out and get the man was a gift, right? It was, yes, we celebrate it. We've learned something. We're moving forward day by day by day. So I just really wanted to address that question because it's so important. We can get so bogged down and so frustrated by that feeling of nothing's changing, right? Because we're focused on what we want. We're focused on the ideal. So it's very clear to us how we're not there yet. And what's important in life is to remember that everywhere we want to go is a process. It's a journey. And every step we take to get there is a victory. Now, it's very hard to look back and say, well, I've accomplished all of this because we're so focused on the fact that we're not there yet, right? But if we can see that as part of the process, if we can see the process as part of where we want to get to, it's a whole different experience. I remember years ago, this is many years ago, 16 years ago, I think. Yeah. 17 years ago, maybe almost 17 years ago. Israel opened like the first train between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Now the train is like 15 minutes or something. It's awesome. It used to be this really long train. They made like the scenic route. It took forever, but I was so excited about it. I was like, there's a train. I want to take the train. I don't know. I thought it was so cool. I wanted to take the train. And actually, my husband planned a whole vacation for us. He planned this whole vacation where we were going to go to Zimmer up north. He planned someone to watch my older daughter. We only took the baby. It was so nice and so exciting. He like arranged for me to have off work. It was so sweet. It was amazing. And he said he thought, hey, on our way there, let's take the train. Chana really wants to take the train. We'll take the train to Tel Aviv. And then I think we had to take another train, just switch to another train to go all the way up north. And then we had to take a bus or something. And it took us a long time. The train took a long time. And then the other train we had to wait for. And then there's a bus. And at one point he turned to me and he goes, I'm so sorry it's taking so long. Like, I didn't plan on it taking so long to just get to the Zimmer. And I was like, are you kidding? I'm loving this. This is part of our vacation. We get to take the train. We're traveling. We're going through Israel together. Like scenery. I'm in heaven. Like the journey to get to the Zimmer is part of the vacation, is part of the excitement. And when we can take that perspective in life, right, it's going to make the process, that's the whole idea, that the process can be sweet, right? Because as we're learning and every day going out and gathering that man and day by day working to change our mindsets and not change ourselves, right? Remember, we're not changing ourselves. We're learning skills and tools and ways of thinking and ways of relating to our husbands that may be different. It is a process. It is a journey. It's not always easy. It's not something we're just going to get like that and that's it. We're never going to need to hear it again, right? We know in life, we don't just read Parsha B'Shalach once. Please God, we read it every single year because we need to hear it again. We need to learn something new from it this year. And so as we go through that process, as we're on that journey, I invite you to give yourself that permission to be on that path, to be on that journey. Realize that as long as you're still learning, as long as you're asking the questions, as long as you're showing up, you're not stuck. You're not stuck. And focus on where you want to go to and what steps you're taking to get there. That's part of it because we're never going to get to it's not about perfection. It's about learning the tools and shifting our ways of reacting and our ways of being in our relationship so that we can create connection and intimacy even though we are so different, right? Even though we're different, we can connect with each other. So I hope everyone's getting excited. I'll be sending out, please God, as I said, an email tomorrow. Maybe you didn't hear me say that. Please God, I'll be sending out an email tomorrow with more of the details where you can really, and you put it in your calendars already for next week, 1 hour earlier than Coffee and Connection. And it'll be a whole event. I'm really, really excited about it. It'll be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We will be meeting. I'll be sharing tons of information and really giving you the tools that you need, giving you the steps that you can take to take that journey, to create intimacy, to create connection, even though you're different, right? Even though your husband is maybe not exactly what you thought he was going to be, and even if you're not exactly what he wants you to be, right? Because we're different. We're different from each other. We still can. We that's actually where the connection is going to happen. So I look forward to seeing you all there. Yay, get excited. And until then, may we all be blessed to live, love, and be loved with all our hearts. Goodbye for now.